As you can see on the marquee at the anthem is Mr. Leslie Odom Jr. He's one of the big stars at DC Jazz Fest this year. You can see they're big stars today, and we're going to be out here all day, baby. What a beautiful day. I'm down here at DC Jazz Fest. I couldn't wait to get down here. Michelle will be joining me later. But what a beautiful day. It's a lineup of fantastic stars. The DC Jazz Fest. I can't wait to get started. Michelle, get on down here. Down on the District Wharf with Sonny Sumter, one of the people behind this incredible event today. Tell us, what did it take to bring this together, and why is it important for DC?
It took an entire team, an entire over 200 people to really put this together. You know, we are 40 venues citywide, but this is our marquee weekend here at the Wharf.
Now, it must be pretty cool to be a city that supports the arts, that supports music, that supports jazz.
You know, it is, and I have to give it up to the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities and to your agency and to so many other stakeholders that wrap their arms around our nonprofit every single year when we put on this magnificent June offering. I mean, it takes a village.
If you should find the times are looking blue, you're too much out with old and in with new, then please come closer to my arms, please do, and stand by me and I will stand by you. Oh, songs can be painted.
So I'm here to hear Clayton. I've been listening to you on stage. You're with the Amp Trio, and I swear you were burning up the place.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We were feeling the burn up there ourselves, but it was great. It was great.
All right, so tell us about the Amp Trio.
Yeah, so the Amp Trio actually started in Denton, Texas, which is where we all met. We were attending the University of North Texas. And the guys brought me on for their second album. That last tune, Stand By You, that we ended with, was the first song that was written for me. And they're like, we're really hearing your voice on this. Come join us. And it's been the writing on the wall since. We've been together since. That was about 2014.
So tell us, why do you think jazz today is changing and blossoming and flourishing, I would think?
Yeah, you know, I think jazz is such a broad term. It really allows us to dig into creativity. And you know, there are a lot of people who say that jazz is one specific thing, but I think similar to how it started, right? It started as a music of Black people. Black people started this music, and we are allowed to evolve and allowed to change. And I really think we are in a time of movement forward with jazz. So it's really, really phenomenal to be a part of that right now. This ever-changing tide. You can't label just one thing. You know, it has a little bit of it all, which is beautiful.
Oh, if you are doubting, that is why I am shouting more and more, 'cause the truth from the heart must be true. Stand by me and I will always stand by me, and I will always stand by me, and I will always stand by you.
Now, I've sneaked into the VIP section where there's a chef, there's tables, there's something to drink, but who am I talking to here today?
My name is Robert Wood, the executive chef and owner of Eco Caters.
Now, I understand that you serve to some of DC's most famous sports teams. Tell us a little bit about that.
We do. We have another side of our company where we feed the Washington Capitals and the Wizards. So we provided all their meals for the last 6 years.
Okay, so you're down at the District Wharf for the DC Jazz Fest. When you're thinking about the menu for this type of event, what comes to mind, and just what did you create for this event?
So with the setting of this event and the history behind jazz in DC, we wanted to really try to evoke some of that history of DC as well as the really creative mindset behind jazz. So we brought in ingredients like corn that has been here forever, you know, black-eyed peas and country ham, which are indicative of the area. And then, you know, for creativity, we tried to think outside of the box, and we took beef and we wrapped it in kelp and cooked it in kelp. So we call it saltwater beef, and then served it on a rice cracker with some wasabi. because it's going to take people by surprise. They would have never thought of that. Just like a great song in jazz does, you know. Every time you go back for another listen, you know, you find something new about the song or the dish that you really enjoy.
What kind of music do you listen to when you're creating masterpieces?
Oh, well, you know, I had to throw in some jazz when I was writing this menu. Maceo Parker's one of my favorites of all time, and he's here this year, so I threw him in. But it really depends on the setting. I love old blues, like Son House, Leadbelly, two of my favorites, and I listen to them all the time. But if I needed to be a little bit more creative and a little bit more inspired, I'll throw in some Miles or, you know.
I'm here with Kiana on the boardwalk here at the DC Jazz Fest. You know, this young lady has her own radio show on DC Radio.
I've been on WPFW actually now for 15 years. This summer will mark my 15 years there. And I'm new to the DC Radio family with my podcast, Artemisy. So it premieres tonight, actually. Saturday night. It'll be airing on Saturdays and Sundays at 8 p.m. on DC Radio. So I'm excited to join the family.
Tell us the first time you heard jazz and knew this was a music genre that you particularly loved.
Well, the first time I heard jazz was Miles Davis's Kind of Blue album, and I believe I was probably 11 years old. And from that moment on, I knew that, you know, jazz was my thing. I was that weird kid. I was always in the jazz clubs with my parents. They would take me to Blues Alley, 11 years old. I was the only kid there.
Beautiful place. My God, this is amazing. I'm totally in love with it. I have to come back many times.
Now, it's hard to get people to brag a little or talk about who they work with, but you work with some incredible people. You created some incredible music. Tell us some of the people that were most memorable that you've worked with on some creative project.
Well, oh my man. Well, remember Quincy Jones, George Benson, Sarah Vaughan, Shirley Horn, Sting, Diana Krall, Diana Reeves, Diana Shore, David Grusin and Liebert Nauer. Oh my God, so many. Take Six, Manhattan Transfer.
What is it about jazz that seems to always be evolving?
Well, jazz for me is an attitude. You know, it's the attitude. More than the music, it's the attitude of freedom, you know, respect for the music. And that's why that makes it easier to create things, you know, to mix things. Jazz is one of what's most important, you know, invention, you know, for music in this planet.
Herman and Michelle, 202 Xtra. We out here, DC. Let's go, baby. Let's go.
Michelle is now here, so the 202 can hit the road running.
Yes, I was late for my date, but I got here nonetheless. And we are ready for a great time at the DC Jazz Fest. And this DC wharf is absolutely beautiful.
Beautiful, stunning, just like you are.
Oh, thank you. Oh, we gotta go.
And we're with Mahogany from our sister channel, DKN. And Mahogany has been down at the Education Village all day talking to folks and listening to some history and culture of jazz. Tell us about it.
It was amazing. I got to sit in on some great artists, Robert Glasper, Yvonne Lenz. It was just amazing. And seeing all the kids there who are so passionate about the arts and then affiliating education with that, it was so amazing.
That's really the history of jazz. The history of jazz is really being able to reflect what's going on in your time period. So one thing you can definitely do that most vocalists don't do, and I've traveled the world, I probably played in 90% of every jazz clubs in the world. And I never hear any jazz vocalists, not that that's barely ever write modern lyrics. You just don't hear it. Even if it's modern lyrics to an original song, that's great. Or some modern lyrics to a song that already exists.
So what I want to know, since it was all about learning and the kids, what did you learn today?
I learned that Washington, D.C. is filled with music and arts and exclusiveness and diversity. These kids have a passion and a willingness to learn, and that they have here in Washington, D.C. the resources to be able to build on their crafts and be able to explore, expand, and get that exposure here. And I think that's wonderful about the city that we live.
So pleased to be the presenting sponsor of the 2018 DC Jazz Festival. The newest, hottest neighborhood in Washington, D.C. is hosting us now. Look, I'm happy you guys are here because whenever I see you two, I know I'm in the right place. So I must be in the right place now. And we're so glad you guys are covering this. This is a fantastic event for the city, and we hope to only make it bigger and bigger.
Eric, you can never get away from us.
I don't want to. I don't want to. If I don't see you, I'm asking for you. So.
I love it.
So we're sneaking backstage at the
Yes.
anthem. Michelle and I are going to look back here because we heard there's some stars back here.
Yes, these are some long hallways. I'm sure in all these rooms, we'll find somebody in. Maybe
that's a larger room.
Okay, not that room.
So
Maybe
Robert
another
Glasper is here,
Yes.
you know, Leslie
is-
Odom Jr.
Yeah, and so is Maceo Parker. You can't forget about the funkiest saxophonist in the planet.
Man,
You know? That's from James Brown's band, man.
See?
If you had a cape, I'd put it on you.
That's why we're backstage, because 202 Xtra is going to take you where you need to go.
That's right, we'll give you access.
You remember last time we did the Jazz Fest, we were at the Navy Yard waterfront, and I promised you that I was going to take you on that yacht. Yeah. It's still going to happen, baby.
I'm ready. How wonderful is it for you to do the DC Jazz Fest? Because you've done it a few times.
Yeah, I did it a few times. It's always a great experience. I love the people, and this area where we're having it by the water is just like, you know, can't ask for anything better than that. Good food, you know, beautiful people, and, you know, it's really nice. I love it.
Now, man, a few years back, you said that jazz needed a sort of slap or a kick in the you-know-what to make it live. Tell us, why do you think that's so important?
Well, it's just a slap to, you know how sometimes when a woman gives birth and you gotta slap the baby to get breathing again, you know what I mean? I feel like that's what jazz needs, just to be relevant again, just to reflect the times again, because jazz, the history of jazz, that it always reflects the time. You know what I mean? That's the real history of it. And so I just feel like people need to wake up and get out of so much living in the history. You know, respect the history, but don't be held back by it. Is the point. You know what I mean? Let it propel you.
let it propel you perhaps to do some interpretive dance, because so many people have been sharing your video with me, Robert.
I just felt it. And you know what? I felt it and I went with it and I owned it. You know what I mean? That's what when I felt it, I owned it, and it was just that's what it is, you know?
This guy is the best. Robert Glasper, DC Jazz Fest for 202 Extra. Michelle Wright.
Herman Patterson. What a fantastic day. I
That was
mean,
so good.
shows, music, sunshine. It's been a great day. I'm glad you joined us.
And I'm glad you asked me. I loved Robert Glasper. I loved Leslie Odom Jr. and the funkiest saxophonist on the planet, Maceo Parker. What? Unbelievable.
Oh, man. We got to do this again next year. It's been a terrific day down here at the District Wharf for the DC Jazz Fest. Michelle and I are always glad to bring it to you right here on DCN. See you next time.